I'm sorry. There was an internet problem with our connection, and although the radio station was working, the video wasn't being broadcast. So I understand that has been fixed now. Uh, and I won't repeat the whole thing, but just to remind you that it is Monday, 5th of July, today, 2021. And in our series, Reflections on the Holy Quran, this is broadcast number 230. And we are discussing chapter 2, verse 88. And this is the second broadcast in that series. So, to save our radio listeners from being bored, I won't repeat the rest of what I had already said in English. Um, so let's go to chapter 2, verse 88. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وقالوا قلوبنا غلف بل لعنهم الله بكفرهم فقليلا ما يؤمنون. And they say, our hearts are repositories. Nay, Allah has cursed them on account of their unbelief. So little it is that they believe. And today we are going to, I hope, look at 3 words. The first one being la'ana hum, or humullah. And its root is lam, ain, noon, and it occurs in the Holy Quran 41 times in 6 different forms. 23 times it occurs as la'ana, and 14 times as la'nat, and then for the rest of the forms it appears once only: la'an, la'inun, mal'unin, and mal'unat. And generally, if you look in translations, it's translated as cursed. They are cursed. Its actual literal meaning is that a person drives himself away from someone by disobeying them, by making them angry. Then the result is that the person who takes himself away is deprived of the benefits that he could have attained. So if you drive yourself away from Allah, that both in this life you would have taken yourself away from the benefits that can be bestowed upon you. And when we talk about benefits, we talk about spiritual benefits. And it also means that in the hereafter, you will be subject to punishment. So this is why in chapter 11, verse 18, the Holy Quran says, Allah la'anatullahi ala zalimin. And upon the unjust, Zalimin, is God's curse. What does that mean? That means that by being unjust, they have taken themselves away from God. So when God says in chapter 5, verse 78, لُعِنَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا مِن بَنِي إِسْرَائِيلَ, the people amongst the Israelites who became kafirs, who became deniers, who became rejectors. They were cursed. And that means that they took themselves away from God's blessings and his mercy. Etc. So in this verse and in other verses where this word is used, particularly about this verse, chapter 2, verse 88, there's a great objection raised in the West. Oh, look, God is saying that Jews are cursed people and Islam is an anti-Semitic religion, and etc., etc. Well, let's take an example. If I'm a teacher and I have a student, and the student disobeys me, and then he gets behind with his work, and he comes to me and asks for extra help without admitting that he was wrong, what am I going to do? I'll just use the English expression. You made your bed, you lie in it. And, it's a consequence of your own actions. I told you to work, do this homework. And you said, Ma, what do you know? I know best. I know better. I know everything. Well, the fact that you can't do your revision and you're about to fail your exams is a result of your own actions. And if you're not prepared to admit that you were wrong and atone for it, so what do you want me to do? That student has driven himself away from the teacher. Now, he's going to suffer for as long as he's in the teacher's class. But when he leaves that school or that class and goes to another school or college or another class, he'll still suffer. Why? Because of that lack of knowledge that he has, because he didn't listen to that teacher. And that is all God is saying, that I've sent guidance and you've chosen to ignore it. You said, no, we know better. Our hearts are protected against God's revelation. So, by doing this, you have taken yourself away from the guidance that would have provided you with the rules to live a good life on this earth and mercy in the hereafter. I'm not sure what curse, curse is regarded as a term of abuse in English. I don't know why it's a term of abuse. I suppose because it's a prayer that you're asking God to punish this person and so on. So, but certainly in Islam, all it means is that your actions have meant that you have taken yourself away from someone who could have helped you. So let's look at the next word, which is Allah. Now, the dictionaries I looked at, they say its root is Hamza Lam Ha. And I'll come to my disagreement with the most Arabic dictionaries. And it occurs in the Holy Quran 2,851 times in three forms. 2,699 times as a proper name, Allah. And 147 times as Illah. And then Allahumma 5 times. Now you see, Arabs had many gods. We know the names of some of them, Lat and Manat and whatever you have. And a general objection against Islam is that, well, you know, this was simply the God, Al-Illah. And we made it into Allah. So Muslims, some people go so far as to say that Muslims believe in more than one God, and this is simply the chief God, the God, Al-Illah. Illah God, Al-Illah, the God. Well, I disagree with all the dictionaries under the sun, Arabic dictionaries, not Latin or Chinese or Japanese dictionaries, on this point. And the reason is this, that a name does not necessarily have roots. A name is a name. I know that in Urdu and Arabic and Persian and so on, names actually mean something. You know, so as a word, it has a root, but as a name, it doesn't have a root, if you see what I mean. And the point I'm trying to make is this. Actually, let me say something else. The reason I say that Allah is not formed by combining Al and Illah, and that it's a word in its right, is this. That Arabic has two types of letters, and they're called Haruf Shamsi and Haruf Qamari. Sun letters and moon letters. Now, you'll wonder what it means. Well, these define the rule for combining Al with the following noun. Shams, sun. You put Al in front of it, and when you pronounce it, you say Ash-Shams. Notice the fact that Lam is not pronounced, La is not pronounced. It's dropped. You go straight to Sheen, Ash-Shams. Qamar is the Arabic word for moon. But if you put Al in front of it, and you combined Al and Qamar, then you will say Al-Qamar or Al-Qamaru. You notice the fact that Al is pronounced in full. When it was Shams, we dropped the Ash-Shams. Hamza was combined with the Sheen. Now, Lam, if I remember rightly, is Haruf Shamsi harf, a sun letter. So, you know, these rules of combining mean that one lam of Al should be dropped. And it's not. We pronounce Allah as if Al and Illah, we pronounce Allah. So we don't say Al Illah, we say Allah. So that shows that Allah is not a combination of two words. Yes, two words. It is a word in its own right. And it's the name. And the reason I go on about this is the fact that, you know, if you're talking to someone, you know, an old classmate from school or something, and you can't remember the, you know, one of your classmates, one of your friends' names, and you say, oh, remember that thin boy? There were many thin boys in our class. Which one do you mean? Oh, the one, the tall one. Okay, that's narrowed it down a bit. But there were many boys who were thin and tall. That was the one with ginger hair. Well, this obviously can't be Pakistan because no one in Pakistan has ginger hair. Everyone has black hair. So you might say, oh, you know, the one who lived behind the police station. So you're giving more and more characteristics of this person in the hope that the other person will remember them. But if you just said, you know, oh, you remember John Wilkinson? And they say, oh, yeah, I remember. What happened to him? Or do you remember Wilkinson? Or do you remember John? In one statement, the whole of that person's personality comes into your mind. Whether he was thin, whether he was tall, whether he had ginger hair, whether he lived behind the police station. Nothing else has to be said. And that is the whole point. That Allah, when you mention Allah, that brings into your mind all the qualities of the Creator. But when you say Rahim or Kareem or Ghafoor or and so on, then you have to mention other things. Sorry, my laptop is running low on charge, although it was 100% when we started. So just plugging that in. But anyway, to get back to our point, that's, you know, God is Rahim. Bismillah ar-Rahman. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. He's Rahman, he's Rahim. Malik Yawmiddin. And so on. People say there are 99 names of Allah. Well, no, there are not 99 names of Allah. There are 99 attributes, 99 qualities. That his name is only one. But sometimes people do say, you know, add an al in front of something. Al ar-Rahim. You noticed I added an al in front of Rahim and the lam was dropped. Ar-Rahim, Ar-Rahma, Ar-Rahim, and so on. So let us now move to the next word, and which is now in the Urdu one. I got this wrong, so I have to get it right here. This is bikufrihim, and we're looking at the word kufr, and its root is kafara, and it occurs in the Holy Quran 525 times in 14 different forms, so 14 different meanings. Now, let me get this right. 289 times it occurs in the Holy Quran as kafara, and 129 times as kafirun. And then, right, 37 times as kufr, and 27 times as kafir, and 14 times as kafara. One says akfara, one says kafur, 5 times as kafar, 4 times as kafarat, kafarat, 12 times as kafur, and so on. Now, literally it means to hide something. So it applies to the night. Because when night comes, there's darkness and it hides everything. But it also applies to the farmers because they plant seeds and the ground hides the seed. They hide the seed in the ground. And al-kafur is the covering in which you actually find the fruit. For example, if you have grapes, you have bite into them, you have skin, and the juicy bit is inside. So that skin is called al-kafur. And then we have kufrun, which means to be ungrateful. And of course, the greatest ungratefulness, just making these words up, is to deny God's blessings, to deny his unity, to deny his guidance, etc. Because obviously, if someone, let's take an example, we're completely lost, we're going down the road and we stop. And someone comes along and we sort of say, we are lost, can you please direct us to wherever? And the man breaks his journey, he stops, he thinks, he says, oh yes, go down the road, and when you come to the roundabout, turn left, and then you'll come to a set of traffic lights, go straight on, etc., etc. And when he's finished, he just wind the window up and drive off. Do you think that's very polite, or is that ungrateful? Wouldn't you say thank you? He's going somewhere. He's broken his journey. He's stopped. He's helped you out. And you don't even thank him. But in real life, a postman, it's his job to deliver post. But if it's a recorded delivery letter or a registered post, or something that he can't fit through your letterbox, and he knocks on your door and he waits, and you go and you open the door, he gives you that letter or packet or whatever it is, and you say thank you, although he's paid for what he's done for you. You still say thank you. But God does so much for you. Don't you think you should thank him? But we don't. And one way we are ungrateful, God mentions this in chapter 2, later on, verse 152. Washkuruli wala takfurun. And God tells us that, don't be ungrateful. Remember my favors on you. And if you're going to ask what favors has God done, then just look around. Let's say to people of this country, just look around, United Kingdom. I received a text message from someone from another country, I won't mention the country, but he said his mother is very ill and the medication she needs is simply not available in his country. That's it. End of story. So God has granted us this country. Shouldn't we be grateful? We could have been born anywhere. He's granted us clean water, clean air. I mean, we're destroying it, but that's a different story altogether. In fact, that is another way to be ungrateful. If someone gives you something very expensive mobile phone, and so on, and he comes to see you, and he opens the door, and you're using that I don't know, £2,500 mobile phone to put a nail in the wall. How do you think he's going to feel? What's going to be his opinion about you? Isn't he going to think that you're an ungrateful person? You don't appreciate the sacrifice he's made? Then God has made all these things for you. Air and water and, parents and wives and everything else. And the worst ungratefulness is that when God expects you to treat others just like he's treated you, you don't do it. You don't do it. And the interesting thing is, the Holy Quran says in chapter 30, verse 44, وَمَنْ عَمِلَ صَالِحًا فَلِأَنفُسِهِمْ يَمْهَدُونَ. If you do good deeds, they benefit you because you're creating a better afterlife. God doesn't gain anything by you doing good deeds. You're the one who benefits, either in this life or in the next life. But you're still ungrateful. With that, I'm told that we have run out of time. So we'll meet at the same time tomorrow, and with the prayer that whoever you are and wherever you may be, may Allah keep the whole of humanity safe and sound and free from harm. Assalamu alaikum, Khuda Hafiz, and goodbye.